Hey guys, welcome to Module 8. This is just a quick overview of the project assignment for this week, the major writing assignment. Um, as you will soon see, much of this you've already discussed in one format or another in Module 6, in your writing assignment for Module 6. So Module 6 writing assignment will be a good resource for you as you work on your final project. And so basically what you need to do is go back and look at my comments and suggestions to you and figure out how to succinctly incorporate some of those key ideas into your project for this week. Okay? So the materials that you'll create for this project are specific to the juvenile justice system or allied professionals. Those are the two options you had in Module 6. So stick with what you wrote about in Module 6. You don't need to reinvent the wheel because you already have much of the information and much of the feedback that I gave you. So everything should come together. It's just a matter of fine-tuning it a little bit, bringing out the exceptionally key points that need to be brought out as you prepare this assignment. So again, you're going to be either the juvenile justice or allied professionals, explain how your topic, and that's either going to be the juvenile justice system or allied professionals, relates to the law enforcement branch of the criminal justice system, include information from one of the main bullets below. So if you're talking juvenile justice, then you need to talk about school resource officers, school to prison pipeline, juvenile rights, and status offenses. And if you're going to talk about allied professionals, if that's going to be your main focus, then you need to discuss victims' right advocates, goodwill ambassadors, counselors, psychologists, and community service professionals. Okay? So remember, you're just choosing one, either juvenile justice or allied professionals. Again, I'd go back and use the same one that you used in Module 6 because you're going to be using that same information. Again, you're just going to be fine-tuning it a little bit as you prepare this final paper. Okay, the same goes for this second section here where we're going to talk about juvenile justice, restorative justice, the court process for juveniles, diversion alternatives to arrest, allied professionals, you talk about guardian ad litems, witness protection, and counselors and psychologists. All right, so again, go back and review the notes that I gave you, the feedback, as depending on which one of these you wrote and researched, and then that would be the focus of what you're doing here. Again, you're going to fine tune this a little bit, polish it up, and take a look at my feedback. Next, in number 3, you're going to explain how your topic, again, either juvenile justice or allied professionals, relates to the corrections branch. And again, we're talking about some of the same things. So for juvenile justice, you're talking about juvenile probation and parole officers, and then the importance of separating juveniles from adults. And then if you did the allied professionals, you talk about auditors, the importance of what auditors do. Again, oftentimes auditors go in and determine the effectiveness of programs based on the funds that were provided for you. For example, if I receive a state grant to have an after-school program to reduce delinquency, then auditors come in to see how that money was spent and determine whether or not that program was actually successful. Did it work? They can do an array of things, okay? But mostly they're making sure that we are using taxpayers' dollars efficiently and effectively. That's what auditors do, all right? Most cities, counties, and states have annual auditors come in and audit their books to make sure that things are as they're supposed to be. Money spent where it's supposed to be spent. All right, so that's what auditors do. And so they play a very important role as an allied professional because it builds public trust. There's a level of transparency. There's the third party that comes in and basically reviews what your employees have done to ensure, again, that the money's being spent as it's supposed to be spent, and it's an efficient and effective use of public resources, which are their tax dollars. Mental health counselors, we already talked about. Many of you talked about, again, contractors, food services, medical services. So again, you're going to go back to see which of these two you wrote about previously. And then again, you're going to take it, you're going to fine tune it, you're going to clean it up, and you're going to make it shine and polish for me. Next critical element has to do with the role of social media. Now, some of you did a good job in mentioning social media. Some of you sort of skirt over it, but understand the importance of social media today as it relates to communication skills. That's important to our particular topic. So whether it's juvenile justice or allied professionals. So for example, when you're talking about juvenile justice, probation officers may be interested in using social media to monitor what their probationers are doing, right? Because if their probationers have a curfew and they're taking photos while they're out someplace in the wee hours of the morning, that's not a good thing. The same thing, a school resource officer might be able to use social media to try to understand what the mood is on the campus, especially if there's been some tension there. Maybe there's been some racial tension on campus. The school resource officer might want to use social media to sort of help him or her, again, take the temperature of the student population to figure out what's going on. You can use social media in other ways, obviously, to get your side of events out or offer your services. So it's a good tool for anyone to use nowadays. It's a quick and easy way to get your information out there quickly and effectively. Okay, so again, so you're going to focus a little bit more here on social media as it relates to your topic. So either allied professionals or juvenile justice. Okay. Next, you're going to explain how active listening is a communication skill important in your topic. So you're going to go back and look at what it is that you have previously researched. So for example, if we're going to go back to juvenile justice, we could take a look at, well, let's take a look at allied professionals, victim rights advocates. Clearly, listening is important in their role in helping crime victims, helping them understand the legal process, the court process, being there for them, answering all their questions, keeping them calm if they can. A key role to me for the victim advocate is not only to provide the resources for crime victims because they are entitled to certain resources, but also to be there for them, especially when it's time to go to court, if there is in fact going to be a court hearing, because they can offer that important security as people go to court. Because many of us have never been to court as a victim or a witness and never had to testify. So having been someone who's testified hundreds of times, I can tell you it's never easy. I mean, you're always a little nervous when you get on the stand. And so I can imagine somebody who's not used to doing that. So, active listening, understanding what's going on, understanding what the people you're trying to help have to say. So you can answer a couple of questions. Who should use active listening? Why should we use active listening? And many of you discussed these in your previous assignments. Again, go back, polish it up a little bit. You want to give your responses an academic flair. All right, so use sources if need be, but try to give it that academic flair if you can. Finally, you're going to look at the issue of cultural awareness, which is also part of that Module 6 assignment. Why is cultural awareness important? And you're beginning to see that play out today with the Black Lives Matter movement and just the whole idea of racial inequalities or racism in the United States. We're beginning to see that in all aspects of our society. Right, so it does serve an important focus in terms of how we understand and work and deal with people who need the services of the criminal justice system. So again, basically what you're doing is you've already pretty much done most of this work. We just want to polish it up. We want to give things an academic flair. We want you to use sources where you can to help support your position on these specific topics. Again, your textbook is always a great source. There's a lot of useful information that can be found in your textbook, especially when it comes to defining some of these concepts or explaining some of these concepts. Okay. Next, in terms of what to submit, again, you have some leeway here. As in prior assignments, many of you use some type of slide presentation, timeline. There's an array of options here, so it's really not limited to a specific type of format, just as long as you make sure that you address each of the critical elements associated with the assignment. That's what's important. So again, you can go back and look and see what materials you have that you can use. Again, some of you used the Picto chart. Some of you use a PowerPoint presentation. Again, just as long as the information that's critical for the assignment is captured there, you'll be fine. Again, the grading rubric, we're going to be looking at your writing again. Again, law enforcement courts, course criteria and corrections. So those are basically some of the same areas from the previous assignment. This time we're going to be focusing a little bit more on social media. It's important in today's society that our criminal justice practitioners understand how to use social media, both as a way to get a message out and then also as a means for obtaining some level of feedback for you, depending on what your job might be. The importance of active listening, and then the importance of cultural awareness. So keep that in mind. And then finally, citations and attributions. Again, as I've been trying to share with you, in order to earn credit here, you have to at least demonstrate that you know how to use and cite a source and offer a reference. All right, that's what this is for. It's to get you to think about using sources. If you don't want to use a source, obviously there's no specific requirement that you do, but you just can't earn the point. So again, use your textbook. It's an easy source. It's a great source to get all types of information that ties into multiple topics related to this final assignment. Okay, so that's it really. I mean, it's like I said, you've probably done 85–90% of the work, so you just have to really polish things up and again try to give it that academic flair as you prepare this assignment. Okay, so I think that's all I want to talk about. This is pretty straightforward. Again, shouldn't be any surprises here. It's basically stuff that you've done a good job in presenting previously. Okay, let me pause here for just a minute and make sure there's nothing else. Okay, I just wanted to get the information on this other task that you have to do this week along with your discussion assignment. And that is the idea of your research question. So it's titled a practice activity. Now this is having you think about potential research questions. For example, if you were going to write a research paper on some aspect of criminal justice, what might it be on? And so usually you do that by asking a question and then answering that question. Okay, that's how a lot of research gets started. So this is just to get you thinking about future ideas for research. All right, now this is a relatively easy assignment, so you don't want to not do it because you never know how important points are going to be. But basically, you're going to develop a research question. So at least one is all that's required. If you have a couple, you can do a couple. So remember, it's submit 1 to 3 research questions based on a topic covered in this course. So that's going to be the important part. It has to be a topic that we've covered in the course. And so here are some suggestions. The rule of law, again, some questions that you could develop upon that. Constitutional rights, purpose and use of various alternatives to arrests, things like that. So there are some options there for you to think about potential research questions that you might want to delve more into. So that's what your assignment is here for this particular assignment. Again, it's pretty straightforward and pretty quick. So, I can give you an example from my own personal days in school. When I was going to graduate school, I had to develop a thesis. And so a thesis basically is where you answer a question. And so I studied homosexuals in law enforcement. So my question was, what are the attitudes toward hiring and working with homosexuals in Southern California law enforcement agencies? So That was my question. My thesis was my answer. Okay, so good luck with that, and I look forward to reading your questions.